Good morning. So, it's Sunday morning, quite early. As usual, I'm always up early. I'm going to process a roll of film for my friends Nicky and Tom this morning. They dropped off a roll of HP5 that they need processing. So, first thing I'm going to do is make some notes in my book. So I've got like a photo journal kind of thing. I keep notes about everything I do. So let's just fill that in. Sunday, 26th of July, 2026. And we have got a roll of HP5. I've already gone on to the massive dev chart and worked out my timing, so I'm using Ilfotech DDX developer 1+4, which gives us a time of 9 minutes at 20 degrees. To be honest with you, the water coming out the tap is more than 20 degrees at the minute. I've already done one roll of my film this morning and the water was about 22 degrees, but that will give us a little bit of overdevelopment, but nothing too much to worry about. So I'm using this little tiny single roll tank that holds one spiral like so, and it needs 300 ml of chemical. So quite economical. So we need 300 ml, 1+4, so that's 60 of developer to 240 ml of water. Okay, so we made some notes, we know what we're doing. I always like to make notes in case anything ever goes wrong, and then I can double check what we've done. So we'll put that to one side. Next job is going to be retrieve the end of the film leader. So I'm going to use this film retriever, and that basically goes into the groove there, into the slot, like so. It's got two sliders on there. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, two sliders. You push that one in first. So push that one in, and then you rotate the film until you hear 2 or 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. Push the second one in, and then gently pull out. Hopefully, no, it hasn't caught, so we'll do it again. The first one I did this morning, did it first time. Because I'm filming it now, it's probably going to take 6 attempts. Right, rotate that round. One more. Click. Push that in. Pull out. Oh, here we go. I can see the leader in there, look. There we are. So, that's that one. Next thing, we're going to take our scissors. We're going to cut the leader off. So we've got a straight end, like so. And then I like to just snip the corners off, just to encourage it into the spiral. And then what I'm going to do in my dark bag is I'm going to take my spiral, my roll of film, I'm going to insert the end of that into there, and then this, you rotate it backwards and forwards, it'll take that in. So let's get the dark bag, just put everything into the bag. For anyone that doesn't know, this is a dark bag or changing bag, so it looks a bit like a black t-shirt. It's got double layers, so you put everything in. So spiral, roll of film, scissors to cut it off, tank, along with the spindle inside and the lid. Pop those all in there. And I'm going to zip the bag up. So it's double zip. So zip the inner layer up first, and zip up the outer layer. Try not to get the fabric caught in the zip, because that's usually what happens. Okay. Then I'm going to put my arms in the sleeves, which have got elastic lid kept so they're light tight. That's one. That's the other one. Okay, so now you have to do this by feel. So let's find the roll of film, which is obviously dropped down the bottom there. Okay, so I'm going to pull a bit of leader out, or film strip out, feel round the spiral until I find the bit where it goes in, insert that into the lip, and gently roll that in, pulling the film out of the film roll, the spool, rolling it in as we go. Just rotate the sides of the spool backwards and forwards, and that takes it up. It's got two little tiny ball bearings inside which grabs the film as you rotate the sides backwards and forwards. Right, we're at the end, so we need the scissors. I'm just going to cut that off. Like so. Okay, and I'm going to pop it into the tank. And spindle in the tank. Screw the lid on. There we are, done. Okay, let's pause. Okay, so now I'm in my dark room. We don't need to do this in the dark because this tank is light tight. So we're going to mix up our developer. What we need is 60ml of developer. So I'm using Ilfotec DDX. This is the stock solution. It's in a brown glass bottle with a vacuum top in. These are wine bottle stoppers. So I'm going to just release that and pour out 60ml of stock solution, which is there. Put the stopper back in and seal that immediately, otherwise I'll forget. Once you hear it making that clicking noise, that's all the air out, so that can go back on the shelf. Okay, put that back in there. So, 60ml of developer. We'll just get a jug with some water in to dilate that down. Just let the tap run for a minute or two. I'll get my thermometer just to double check the temperature, but I don't think we're going to get it down to 20 degrees. So, okay. So I've got this nice digital thermometer. Pop that in there. And air temperature was 23.8 in here, and the water temperature's gone down to just a whisker over 22 degrees. So we'll have a little bit of overdevelopment, but that's fine. So I've got this large graduate here. I need to top that up to 300ml. So I like to put the water into the small measure that had the developer in, because that just takes any residual developer that was left in there. It gathers that with the water. So top that up. 300, there we are. Okay, just give that a stir. I printed this, I've got a few of these. They're actually like drill paddle mixers, but I 3D printed them and they're ideal for this. So pop that in there. That'll whiz round like so. Okay, put that to one side for a wash in a bit. That's it. So we need to set the timer. I've got my time clock over here, so we need 9 minutes. Set that to 9 minutes. I'm just going to put some gloves on, only because the lid on the tank when you invert it tends to leak a little bit. So there's a set of gloves and just pop those on. There we are. Right. Okay, so developer, tank, developer in. There we are. That's that. Start the timer. Pop the lid on. I'm going to invert that for the first 30 seconds. There's some good inversions. I invert and rotate the tank at the same time. Seconds. Okay, nearly there. That's 30. Tap it down just to release any bubbles. Now, while we're waiting for the next 30 seconds to pass, so I'm going to invert every minute, 10 seconds at every minute. So I'm just going to get out some stop bath. So we'll tip that into there. 300 ml of stock bath. Now that's that. And we're now coming up to the first minute, so we'll get ready to invert that again. Right. Give that an inversion. Morning, Caleb.
Morning.
Just filming myself developing a roll of film.
Okay.
10. Quick tap. Okay, and then while that's doing, I'm going to get the fixer out. So again, we need 300 ml of fixer. I'll tip that into the jug, 300 ml, and I'll just mark that bottle as a batch of fixer will fix about between 20 and 25 rolls. So I'll just stick a label on here and do a little tally of how many rolls we've done. So that's that. Morning, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, good sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. This is my grandson. Say hello.
Hi.
Straight out of bed, look at that. What time is it? I've got no idea, no concept of time this morning. I've been
Almost 8.
up, almost 8, I've been up for ages. Okay, so that's the next minute, so we're going to give it another set of inversions for 10 seconds. It's about 10 inversions, but I just kind of do it with the 10 seconds. So I'll invert it until 10 seconds are up. Okay, tap on there. Right, so, yeah, I'll just pause this for a sec. Okay, so we're coming up to the last minute, so final set of inversions. And I always try and give them a good agitate, because otherwise what happens is the edges of the film strip, which is in the spiral, tend to get underdeveloped or undeveloped. So this strip here, I don't know if you can see that from here, this strip here, which I did earlier today, the edges are really clean, so that's a good sign of good agitation. Right, I'm going to whip the lid off. At the minute, I am going to tip the developer into a receptacle for disposal later. Then I'm going to reset the timer for a minute, pop the stop bath in. That stops the developer from working. And then that's a minute, and then we'll move on to the fixer, which is 2 minutes, then a wash, and then hopefully the big reveal. So here we are, just coming up now. That's it. Reset the timer for a minute. The developer into Start the timer. Invert or agitate for at least 30 seconds. Some instructions recommend that you do this for the full minute, but I can't be bothered, to be honest with you. I think 30 seconds is enough. I always think the timings are longer than is needed anyway, so almost 30 seconds. Yep, there we are. Give that a tap. That'll wipe down. Yeah, these lids aren't really leak proof, I'm afraid. Certainly not on this tank. I've got 2 or 3 Paterson tanks where the lids clip down really tightly. They're definitely better, they're less leaky. So right, whip that off. So at the minute I'm going to tip the stop bath back into the jug so it can go back in the bottle. That lasts for ages. That's the minute. Reset the timer for 2 minutes for the stop bath. Tip that out into there. Okay. And then we're going to put the fixer in. Sorry, 2 minutes for the fixer. Fixer is in. Start the timer. Pop the lid on again. Inversions or agitation for the first 30 seconds. I'll do that. And then I'm going to decant the stop bath back into the bottle. That can go back on the shelf. As I say, I don't think I've ever had stop bath that has got to its expiry position, because it changes colour. Apparently it's colour changing when it's expired, but I normally make a new batch before that. So right, so funnel, bottle, stop bath back in there. Okay, put the lid on that. So give that a wipe because I've spilt it around the neck. Stick that back on the shelf. Okay, another set of inversions. Take the lid off in preparation for tipping it out. So that's going to go back into the fixer bottle. As I say, a batch of fixer does about 20 to 25 rolls, and I normally change mine before I get to the end of that, because I also put the date on when I've first mixed it up. Occasionally I have got to the end of its life, and you'll know because your film won't be fixed clear. It'll come out cloudy, but you can make a fresh batch and fix it again, and that works, that recovers it. So it's quite forgiving, this processing. Right, we're coming up to the end of the 2 minutes. So there we are, that's that. Fixer back in the jug. I'll put that back in the bottle in a minute. Right, we're going to do the wash next. So we need 300 ml of water, and I do not wash my films under running water. I use the Ilford method now. So first wash 5 inversions, so that's plenty, and then take the lid off, tip that away. That's the first one. Then we'll go again. I'll just get some fresh water. 300 ml. So do 5 inversions, 10 inversions, 20 inversions, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. look. Right, take that away. And then yeah, so it's 5, 10 and 20 sets of inversions. I then dump that, put fresh water in again, and then add some wetting agent just to prevent watermarks on the film. Okay, that should be 20. Take that off. So, take the lid off. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, that looks alright. Top that up with water again. Ditch my gloves now. A couple of drops of rinse aid. And that is literally a couple of drops, so 1, 2, and that's more than a couple of drops. That was a good squirt. I used to invert this and get it all kind of bubbly, but I found that that would just leave marks on the film. So now I just pop it in, leave it in there for a minute or two, rotate it round, just spin it round in there so it gets coated. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack the spiral open, put the negatives into there, back into the solution, like so, and then I'm going to pull them out. I never use a squeegee, I always just wet my fingers and I can see images, which is brilliant, so that's a success. Just give that a wipe when it comes out, hang it up over here, like so. Grab a weighted clip to go on the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to just squeeze it with my fingers again, just to get the excess off. There we go. Lovely. Right. Let's just grab the camera and get that closer so we can have a closer look. Okay. So, there we are. Oh, that's not it, you numpty, is it? There we go. So there is Tom and Nikki's negatives. They look good. Excellent. Cool. Thanks for watching.